The new chair of a public inquiry into 2,000 patient deaths in Essex mental health units over the last 2 decades says she will compel staff to give evidence if she has to.
Baroness Lampard, who also chaired the inquiry into Jimmy Savile, is leading the investigation, which now has new legal powers. It's a change one former patient hopes will help stop any more suffering.
She has shared her experiences with Charlie Frost, warning this report does contain some distressing details.
After trying to take her own life, Amy was admitted to a mental health ward. Within weeks of being there, she claims she was raped by another patient. She doesn't blame them, she blames the staff. Her words have been voiced by an actor.
I asked for help. I asked for birth control. It wasn't even particularly questioned. It wasn't kind of taken seriously. No changes were made, and actually I know that those types of incidences happened to other people during my time on the ward. So it was just that picture of chaos and a lack of safety on the ward, and people just at risk of further harm, I guess.
Amy isn't her real name. We're protecting her identity, but her experience is evidence in a public inquiry into how 2,000 patients died in mental health institutes in Essex.
So you were admitted to the ward because you were suicidal, but you were almost able to take your own life there?
Yes, that's right. I mean, I went into the unit as a relatively young person who was going through a tough time because of the pressures of life when you're in your early 20s. I came out far worse.
An Oldham schoolboy who went missing in Spain 6 years ago has been found alive in the south of France. Alex Batty failed to return home after going on holiday with his mother and grandfather. And Charlie Frost is here with more on this. It is an extraordinary story, isn't it? What have you been able to find out?
Well, yes, it really is an extraordinary story. Well, Alex Batty, he went missing 6 years ago, 11 years old at the time. He went on a family holiday to Spain with his mother, Melanie Batty, who doesn't have legal parental guardianship of him, and his grandfather, David Batty. Now, the week-long trip was pre-agreed, but Alex didn't return home to England in 2017 as planned. And despite international public appeals, Alex's legal guardian, his grandmother, Susan Caruana, hasn't seen him since he left on that holiday. Now, she has previously said that she believes that her daughter and ex-husband had taken Alex to live in a spiritual community in Morocco. But now, the 17-year-old from Oldham has been found in a mountain region in southern France, with reports in French newspaper La Dépêche that he was spotted by a concerned driver who saw him walking along the road and took him to a police station. Now, the newspaper says it appears that he was fleeing a spiritual community in the Pyrenees. And the French police say he is well and is awaiting British police to arrive to take him home. And it is British police that are leading this investigation, with his mother and grandfather still wanted in connection with his disappearance.
You've had quite a lot of criticism online of perhaps the way that you fought against what the judges and doctors were saying, and then perhaps for the amount of media interviews that you've done. How would you respond to that criticism?
To be honest,
I mean, criticism might be putting it lightly. Some of it is trolling that you've experienced.
Oh, it's trolling. It's online bullying. It's cyberbullying. These are pathetic people that sit behind fake profiles. You know, there was a lot of, oh, if that was me, then I definitely wouldn't be doing interviews. You know, I definitely wouldn't be up in court. No, but do you know what? Being up in court got me an extra probably 16, 17 weeks of my child's life, because the hospital wanted to end his life, you know, on day 2. So had I not been to the court, I wouldn't have had all these extra months with Archie. So do I regret it? No, I don't. And am I bothered by what any of these trolls have to say? No, I'm not. They're not important. Archie's important. They're not important.
But as well as those people, the criticism, you've had a lot of support. What has the support been like in Southend especially?
So much. I've had support from everywhere, really, if I'm honest, you know, but so much support in Southend.
Do you have lots of memories with your son there? Things that you like to think about, good memories?
Yeah. Every day of Archie's life was brilliant, you know. It's the whole people grieve in different ways. I'd rather celebrate his life. You know, I had 12 of the best years with Archie ever, and there's nobody or nothing that could ever take that away, and I'm going to hold on to that.
Reliant on her personal assistants to help her to do all everyday tasks, from getting out of bed to making a drink and going to the toilet, Sophie decided to appeal the decision. On February 14th, she was told her appeal failed and was sent a letter from the council with suggestions on how she could cope with less care. On going to the toilet, it reads, continence products could be a means of meeting this need outside the support in place, but toileting in itself is not a requirement for 24-hour care.
As someone that is not incontinent, that just feels my whole dignity is being taken away. I cannot imagine being like that, you know, and I understand that some people have conditions where that is their normal, but where it's not, I shouldn't be made to be more disabled than what I am.
And it's rivalry renewed between the two nations. Australian papers are relishing the prospect of more heartache for England following an eventful Ashes cricket series this summer and the Aussies' win over the Roses in the Netball World Cup final earlier this month. There'll also be plenty of familiar faces in the Matildas squad. Nearly half of Australia's players play for British clubs, including their star player Sam Kerr, who plays alongside Lionesses captain Millie Bright for Chelsea. England will still be without forward Lauren James as she finishes serving her 2-match ban. And the home crowd, gripped with Matilda mania, will be keen to see their team reach the World Cup final for the first time. So the Lionesses will have to show determination if they want to ruin Australia's party. The winner will play either Sweden or Spain in the final.
The next instalment of the hit period drama Bridgerton is having its premiere in London's Leicester Square tonight. The spin-off focuses on the early life of Queen Charlotte.
It is time we were united as a society. You will make lots of babies. As many babies as possible for my son.
Well, Charlie Frost has been speaking to some of the stars and the people behind it. Charlie.
Oh yes, as you can see, I'm in Leicester Square, but it's been transformed into a gorgeous Georgian ton, a reference you'll understand if you're one of Bridgerton's millions of viewers. But this story is about what happened before Lady Whistledown began to spread scandal around high society London. This story looks at the life of Queen Charlotte. It's the prequel to Bridgerton, and it explores her ascent to the throne and how she came to England from Germany, aged 17, just hours before she married King George III. And this drama explores their marriage, which spanned almost 60 years and involved 15 children. So plenty of drama for writer Shonda Rhimes, who's also behind huge hits like Grey's Anatomy to get her teeth into. And earlier I chatted to her and one of the stars of the show, Golda Rousseval, who has reprised her role as the quick-witted and fiery Queen Charlotte.
Really what we did was, I didn't want to tell a full historical, this is not a documentary. Yeah. I really wanted to take the character created as our Queen Charlotte in Bridgerton and tell her history.
Yeah, and I think it's last year I was filming Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte at the same time.
Yes.
So it was really interesting because in Bridgerton I imagine the children. Mm-hmm. They are just like this figment of my imagination that I created, and then Shonda actually gives me physical children in Queen Charlotte, you know. So it's a real like wonderful kind of up and down and roller coaster year for me of kind of having no children, then having children, and yeah, it was great. It's really good.
Well, if you're a fan of Bridgerton, you know that the costumes are a huge part of the show. And I asked Golda about those fabulous wigs that she wears, and she promised that Queen Charlotte has one of the heaviest wigs yet. So the series is out on May the 4th, just in time for you to start getting in the royal mood ahead of the long coronation weekend.
All right, Charlie, thanks very much.